I go ahead.
Yeah, so like I was saying, some people, depending on their interests, sometimes it's really not clearly defined in their minds what a podcast, entails. And so they approach it from a very rudimentary standpoint. And, they're just interested in being on Facebook maybe once a week. And, doing a face-to-face meeting like the one that you and I are doing right now. No graphics, no music, no promotion, no marketing, no nothing. They just want a bare bones, back and forth setup like this. Other people want, approach it a little differently in that they want to put together entire infrastructure to monetize and distribute the podcast as widely as possible. And those people require a lot more intensive production, but they're also the ones who long-term might get the most benefit if they stick with it. And so I know it's just important for us to establish who we're dealing with at the very beginning of the process so that they know and we know what we need to do in order to get them where they're trying to go. And so, we, part of the thing that we do probably is help people come up with a very clear vision of what they're trying to do, because oftentimes I found that, people don't know. You don't know what they've never done a podcast before. They've never distributed a podcast before. They don't understand the hard work that it takes to get one up and keep it going long term, and the commitment that it takes to really, put time into it. So what we try and do is just identify right out of the gate who we're dealing with, so that we'll know the level of commitment that on our end that we need. Like the podcast that I'm doing is called The Rabbit Hole. We distribute both the video and the audio, and they're kind of two separate things, but they're the same thing. But part of our approach is to strip the audio out, and we take the audio, put it on Spotify, Google, Listen Up or Listen In, Apple Music, all the different audio vendors. We distribute it there. And then we have a video platform that we distribute it to: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, just any place that we feel like we can get some traction, and that's just the distribution part. We haven't really talked about the marketing part of it, which is key, because people don't know us from Adam. They don't know me from anybody. And so we create little short viral, content just to distribute, on different platforms to pepper those platforms with our presence, like on Twitch and, the different platforms. You have to create some kind of awareness, so that people know you're there. And usually just putting a podcast out a week is never going to cut it. That's just not enough. You really have to dig in and commit to it, and post 4 or 5, 6 times a day if you really want to, have that content be, chewable for people and build an audience. Because when you're building an audience from scratch, as you know, Chris, you have to add value, to the people who are watching. If they get value from it, they'll continue to watch, they'll subscribe, they'll follow you. But if your content doesn't add value, they're not going to stick around. So it's a lot of moving parts in there that, from a producer standpoint, that I don't necessarily control, because I don't create the content for them. I don't control, the content for them. We just produce the podcast. So when it comes to, honing their message in their podcasting and connecting with an audience, we can do the production part, but unless they hire us, we don't really do the messaging part for them, which is a huge, huge part of any communication strategy that you have. You have to be able to talk to people in a language that they understand, to keep their interest and, and to accomplish whatever your goal is. So, a lot of it at the outset for us would just be, defining what this is that we're trying to produce for somebody, and getting a basic understanding of how much they understand what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm with you. So with that being said, you have kind of like you have packages at different levels. Like, for example, let's just say, let's go with the full service package. That's basically, let's take it from the context that they know what their message is, right? Because that's kind of what I want to help them with. So they know what they want to do a podcast. It's a business professional. So all my podcasts that I'm going to be talking about, just put in the context, is going to be business people. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be people looking to get a return on it.
Right.
And that's why they're doing a podcast, right? So it generates revenue, right?
Okay.
So, and it's going to be direct related to their business, which is going to be, around consulting in some form of fashion, or positioning themselves as a subject matter expert in that particular area. I got a client of mine who's let's say, for example, let's start off with a client of mine who's a child care provider. So, now, when I met her, to give you an idea of what I kind of do as a coach and consultant, when I met her, she was more consider herself as a daycare.
Okay.
And as I began to talk to her, I said, well, when I think of daycare, immediately I'm thinking that most people choose, now I don't have any kids, you have kids, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but from my understanding is that if it's a daycare, your decision on choosing a daycare comes down to cost and convenience. How close are you to my house or my job, and what's your fee, right? Because daycares are all one the same. All you're gonna do is just watch my kid and put my kid in front of a room, and as long as I know he's safe, then
I would add trust. I would add trustworthiness too, because I'm not just gonna drop my kid off with anybody.
Right, trustworthiness, right? So I said, what I want you to think about more of, and she did more of this, but I told her the way of messaging. I said, don't say you're doing daycare, say you're doing child development. And so now child development is you providing education while that child's with you. You're providing a learning experience while that child's with you. And then she also told me she does things for the family, like she has the family get Wix set up and get access to other resources depending on the income level. So I'm like, so now it's a total family experience, right?
Yeah, so she's adding value to that family now.
Exactly. So you don't do daycare, right? So now the messaging became a part of it, right? So I'm like, well, and I gave her homework, like, here's what I want you to do. I want you to study certain psychologists that talk about child development. And I want you to really emphasize on Black youth development, young boys between the ages of 2 and 6, and how they're developed, right? I want you to become an expert in those particular areas. You can talk about those things. And so I'm laying out, this is what your podcast is going to be. You'll talk about how to go about family care and family engagement on your podcast. Right. And for me, that will now attract a more exclusive clientele, like somebody who is high middle income or upper. Those are the kids you want, right? You want, of course, she was trying to go about getting the kids that, and I ain't saying something wrong with it. I'm just saying that it's pros and cons with both target markets. Her target market initially was poor, low income, and you're getting subsidy money. But the challenge with poor, low income is all you're doing is pretty much watching their kids. The parents not going to really be engaged once they leave with you in most cases. And then you don't get a chance to really grow your business from a context of what impact you have overall on those children's lives.
Right.
So let's look at it from a context of provide more value, provide a more family-oriented value, and helping the parents understand what their role is in child development and how they need to work with you, and it continues even when they get home with your children, and you continue that process going on as well, right? So now she's on board with all that. So now I want to help her get a podcast set up. And again, I always want to start off initially with folks, just give you an idea that folks who hadn't done it before, I'm telling people, start off with a 30-minute podcast initially.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to let you really have the passion like I do. It's hard to really have content for a whole hour. You know, especially every single week that you had to think about, and as you talk about before, getting your content together, getting your questions together, getting your guests, if you haven't guests, getting the questions for the guests. That takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, especially the level of guests you're bringing on. Now you got to do research for that guest to make sure it's even a enjoyable conversation. So you're not sitting there talking about ignorant things with the guest and wasting his time. The guest wants to make sure they're getting value from the conversation as well. So that takes even more time, right? So now, with that being said, what I want to look at doing is being able to say, we offer like 3 packages, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I'm thinking about. You say, here's starter package A, right? Starter package A is, like you said, we basically, you know, give you a bare bones 30-minute podcast where we get you an MP3 and an MP4 that we're going to put on Facebook, YouTube, and maybe Spotify or, you know, or Apple, right? So no introduction, no edit, raw, but we're just going to make sure that it gets on all those 3 platforms for you. You call in, you be the talent, we take it from there. Here's price A, right? Price B is now we're going to sit down and we call it more of a, let's say, branding broadcast. Now, this is one where you really want to get out here and really position yourself as a subject matter expert. And so in this one, you want to have a theme song that starts off. You want to have, again, it's going to be 30 minutes, but you want to get on more platforms. And you want graphics in your podcast, right?
Yeah, you want to have a logo and you want to have like an intro and an outro for it. And
exactly.
You know, yeah, that kind of thing. Graphics package,
That's package B, right? And you let me know what package B price is. And of course, package C is all in. We're doing a full scale production for you. You know what I'm saying? We really doing basically a web show, you know, for lack of a better term. You with me on that?
Right. I'm with you.
Right. Like, real quick, have you ever heard of comic comedian Louis C.K.?
Yeah, I've heard of Louis C.K.
Well, I came across on Hulu. I didn't realize he had done this, but in 2016, the man was really a genius, man. He was funny, but he was really good at what I found. He was really good at producing his own stuff. A lot of people didn't give him credit for that. Like he was able to, like he actually created a web show that you can find on Hulu where he got some good actors in it. He wrote the script, directed it, he financed it, and it's like an 8-part series, 8 hours each, 1 hour each, eight-part series where him and his guy Steve Buscemi are brothers in his bar.
Okay.
Right, and it's brilliant because he wrote the content. So you see all the actors, and he brought in good actors in it to play the roles, like Alan Alda. He plays his father in there, you know what I'm saying? So you watch it for that name recognition. But my point is, it was a webcast. It never was produced on a major network. It was strictly internet. It's carrying on Hulu now, you know what I'm saying? But my point is, and you have the capability of doing that too. Because see, I have clients that's gonna come in at different levels is where I'm getting at. And I want to be able to offer them either 1, 2, or 3, or if you have a 4 package, even a 4 package, and you let me know what you want to do, I can find clients based off where you want them to be at. And you let me know, well, King, listen, I can only handle 4 web, show clients per month. I can handle 30 of the package A clients per month. I kind of need you to kind of guide me and your level of how many people you can handle. I can do more. I'll do all the selling, right? That's what I'm saying, because I'm gonna bundle it in what I do, and that's where I want to go with. So you just let me know, well, this is how I want to price it. Here's what my prices are, and here's the workload that I can handle.
Got you. You know, the interesting part, Chris, is especially with like the music artists that I work with, we'll make a music video for them, produce this music video, give it to them, hand it over to them. And they'll put it on YouTube with no marketing plan, with no fan base built, with no sense of what a music video is even supposed to be used for. And they'll get 200 views and come back to me and say, man, I thought this was gonna pop. And I say, well, all right, let's take a look at your YouTube channel. How many subscribers do you have? I got 3 subscribers. Okay, so you got 3 subscribers on YouTube. You put your video on YouTube and 3 people watch it. I said, but you got 233 views with 3 subscribers. Based on what you have, based on your fan base, that's pretty good.
Right, it is.
You know what I mean? And but the problem is that they don't market and they don't know how to market. They don't, you know what I mean? They have talent in producing music and making songs. And what I started realizing is they come to me for the music videos. Say, hey man, I saw this video on BT. Here, I want to do it like this. Well, as a producer, I can do anything you want. You know, I can make it look just like that. You know, I can make it look dope, you know, but I make this dope video for them and they don't know how to reach their audience. And I'm finding that and I think the same thing is going to be true with what we're talking about. They're really going to need help building and reaching an audience, which I know that's another thing, but just so you can tuck that in your back pocket as a point of reference, you know, because I banged around a little bit in this. I produced a podcast for Nelly's manager, Nelly's old manager, T Love, and they were content just to produce it on Facebook. They had Nelly on there and got some content that was just freaking amazing one night. Recorded it, you know, right over here from where my studio is in the next room in the guitar room. I mean, that thing went viral. And what they realized once that video went viral, I'm talking like 4, 5, 8, 9 million views in one day. And what they realized is that they really weren't positioned. They really didn't have the infrastructure. They didn't lay the groundwork to handle that kind of virality. They really couldn't take advantage of it. You know what I mean? The views just went out the window.
Absolutely.
Because their podcast wasn't initially set up to handle that type of volume and that type of, you know, interaction. And so it forced, so you know, they got a peek at what it's like to go viral though. You know what I mean? They got a peek at like, oh damn, you know, I gotta be ready. You know, people want to hear, they want to hear the podcast on Spotify, they want to see it on iTunes. Well, once it goes viral, it's too late to set all that up.
Right.
You missed it. You know what I mean? They could have monetized all of those views on YouTube, been off to a great start. You know, they would have had the 3 million views on YouTube, had their monetization platform all ready to go. And then it would have just been, you know, plug and play because they get the guests on there, but they didn't set up a YouTube channel. They didn't have, you know, any of that in place and still really don't. So I don't think, you know, from the start, that was their intention. That wasn't really their goal, you know, either through ignorance or through choice. You know, that just wasn't what they wanted to do, which is, yeah. So I come from experience in saying that we need to help people figure out what it is that they're trying to do with it. And you have a good sense with your clients of what needs to happen because you've been doing podcasts for a little while. You know what it takes. You have a real good sense of
But see, but to that point, and so this is where I want to record this. And see, even this is valuable content, right?
Yeah.
Because people don't realize when it comes to marketing, when it comes to you know, branding, messaging, you pay for what you get. Yeah. So I got a brother I know who I work with right now, and I've been trying for the last 4 years to get him up on a different level. But he basically has a radio station, internet radio station. He paid for a license where he can actually play music on the internet, you know.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And he's a DJ. That's his background. That's his experience.
Right.
Well, I've been telling him, but he hasn't really been able to monetize his radio station much, even though he got different guys doing shows, different hours. And of course, his motto is basically, you know, to get advertisers and sponsors to help cover the cost. He charged them like $100 for a 1 hour show.
Right.
That's basically does on a weekly basis, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Now, $100 is you know, relatively very inexpensive, right? So he gets folks that come on there mainly for their ego. And so I was doing shows with him, and I kept saying, well, I need the MP3 after my show, which he was horrible to give me the MP3 file. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, you know, because I'm not really so much concerned about who's listening live. I'd rather have the recording, then I can use that and put that on my social media sites, and it's evergreen going forward, right?
That's right. Uh-huh.
Not too many people I know listen to live radio. I don't listen to live radio. I only watch live podcasts. You know what I'm saying? I'm always an on-demand type person. You know what I'm saying? If a podcast come on at Tuesday at 9, I'm not tuning in live.
Yeah, the days of catching Michael Jackson on MTV at 5 o'clock so you can see Thriller are gone.
Exactly. You see, as a DJ, he's still stuck in that mindset. Like he still want to drive people to try to listen to his radio station live. I'm like, what you don't realize is it's more beneficial to business people than evergreen recording.
Absolutely.
I go listen to podcasts that came out 5 years ago. But if we got content on there that's valuable, it's still relevant to me today, right?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Now, the entertainment world might be different because everything's about, you know, releasing albums and getting people to buy in that space.
That has changed too. That has changed tremendously. Streaming is the big thing now, and singles from what they've been telling me, and it's moving into selling things as create albums as NFTs, which is a whole nother ball game. I mean, this world has completely changed from the time where we used to listen to terrestrial radio.
Right. And see, that's what I'm trying to get him to grow. So long story short, where I'm going with this is he charged a very inexpensive rate, and I brought 5 people to him for clients. But the problem is he's not helping them get their stuff distributed. So I told him, I said, what you're going to end up having, and that's what he's facing right now. I said, eventually, what you are becoming is a bill to people because they're paying you on a monthly basis and you're giving them a file, but they're not monetizing that file. Eventually, they're going to start saying, oh, I'm not going to make time to keep coming to your studio because that's 3 hours of time there. You know, hour basically drive there, hour to shoot it, hour to record, an hour to drive home. That's 3 hours of your day there. So 8 hour day, that's pretty much half your day. And if you're not making money from it, you can't consistently keep doing it as a business person.
Well, believe it or not, he's doing what he's comfortable doing. It sounds like he's doing what he wants to do. That's probably why he set the radio station up the way that he did. And his ideal of his radio station would be exactly what he's doing. And he probably it sounds like he just wants to do enough to be comfortable getting by. And because when you move into areas in which you don't really have any understanding, it requires you to learn a lot. And it takes a lot of research and a lot of effort. You know, he has to renew his mind and he has to learn a bunch of new things and become adept at all these different platforms, become accustomed to a brand new way of doing things. And he might be an older guy who just doesn't want to do that. You know?
And you hit the nail on the head with that. So he's caught in a perpetual cycle of barely just surviving every single month, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then you can't really get too many advertisers because people want to look at your data. How many people listening live?
Right.
That's so right. If I'm gonna pay advertising fee and you only got 20 listeners, all 20 of them ain't gonna buy.
Right.
You know, I'll be lucky if you get 100% of 20 people to buy something who are listening, right? That's unheard of. Right.
Yeah.
So where I'm going with this is that, to your point that you laid out earlier, the education part and teaching part, see, my program is designed to do all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's designed to help people. So I got 2 packages for folks that I do with people coming to join my network. I'm basically teaching people how to build networks. And then as you build your network, how to connect and engage what I call king connections. And a king connection is not a play on my name, it does name my company. A king connection is a connection that if this person adds you to their inner circle, it changes your life instantaneously. Like, for example, Nelly, right? So you saying, okay, I want to get a podcast started, and my first interview is going to be with Nelly, right? So you interview Nelly right there, that's going to get enough eyeballs just because of who he is.
Yeah.
Not who you are, but because who he is.
Because of who he is. That's right.
If you're able to, like you said, you got a plan for that, and you letting folks know, well, if you like what I'm doing with Nelly, next week I got such and such. Next week I got such and such. And this is what my podcast is about, right? So now Nelly has pretty, in essence, launched you. So how much value is that as opposed to saying, I'm going to start off interviewing Chap? Now, Chap's free. Chap's available. You know what I'm saying? But how many people going to watch Chap? If you ain't getting millions of people to watch you interview Chap. You know what I'm saying? So Chap not really bringing that.
I'm sorry, Chris. I know people who don't know Chap don't know why I'm laughing. But Chap is a guy that me and Chris grew up with. And he was just here in my studio for his birthday on the 6th of December. And that's hilarious. Okay, go ahead. I didn't mean to laugh and interrupt what you were saying. That was right. Funny you brought his name up, though.
And this is nothing, derogatory toward Chap. I'm just saying.
Yes, it was. Hey, Chris, yes, it was. Nelly giving Chap a bar. Hey, when I used to work for BET as a cameraman. And so I would go out on the road and record all these hip hop stars. And one day we were doing LaToya Luckett. She used to be a Destiny's Child. And so we're on the road. LaToya. So we're on the road with Toya, and I'm in the van with one of the executives from Capitol Records. And after Toya, we were headed to Memphis to do CeeLo Green and Jazzy Faye. And so, that's what it was. It wasn't LaToya. It was Jazzy Faye and CeeLo, because we were in Memphis and we were going to the Stax Museum. And we were just all sitting around talking. And Mike Cole looked at me and me and the other producer who was there, he was like, Elvis would give you a bar. And I was like, a bar? What the hell is a bar? And he said, he just kept saying, Elvis would give you a bar. He was cold-blooded back in the day, and such and such and such and such. And Elvis had this and Elvis had that. And when Elvis turned 25, he was a millionaire. He was just going on extolling all the virtues of Elvis when Elvis was young. And he kept saying, Elvis would give you a bar. And so finally I asked him, I said, man, what is a bar? And he said, well, a bar is when you go to Las Vegas and you put your hard-earned money in the machine. And you know how the wheel spins and it comes up and it says bar?
Yeah.
It means you get nothing. So you just gave Chap a bar.
I see what you said. Okay.
Comparing him to Nelly. Oh, that's so funny.
But yeah, so what I'm sharing, and I want to share my screen with you in a second, but I just kind of want to lay out we talk through those initial things. But we're on the same page. What I'm saying is that, so in other words, everybody who I would bring as a potential person would be vetted, and they would understand that there's a process and there's an educational process to this. And that's what they're paying for. That's why there's a higher level for the more help you give because of what you're doing. And that's why I was going with my DJ Rock, the radio guy analogy is that for $100, he's not doing nothing for you. So, so in other words, the less expensive you pay, yes, but then you got to do all the work yourself or it's not giving you any value.
Yeah, right? You do. Yeah.
Or you can go ahead and pay. Like for me, I'm a person, I understand the different websites and all that to go to. I may not know how to put it on all the websites, but I understand the logical process that what is needs to happen. So with that being said, I understand the value add of having somebody else do that for me.
Yeah.
You see what I'm getting at? And that's what I'm saying. The clients I bring on would be the same way. I would educate them on that.
Yeah.
They would understand the value of having a audio and a video go out as opposed to just an audio.
Right.
Right. If it's just on Apple works, if it's just on Apple iTunes, that's just an audio.
And then the crazy thing, and the crazy part about it, Chris, is I'll give you a great example of how valuable this content is if they produce a 30-minute podcast. I just did a recording of Kim Gardner. She's the St. Louis City prosecutor. She talked for about an hour. And within that hour, there are sound bites that I've taken out of that whole hour that are going to populate my social media for 4 or 5 months. With just things that she said that are worth listening to. They might be 30 seconds. Some of them might be 2 minutes. Some of them might be a minute and a half. But out of that whole hour, I've got 30 or 40 pieces of content that I can take out and distribute to each of those platforms and have a piece of content out there, where people can watch it and they'll just keep bumping into it. It might be a different piece of content here, different piece of content there, but because you have so much content on top of the full piece, that I put out there where they can listen to in long form and take a deep dive. But then there's these little jewels that she was dropping along the way, these little nuggets, these little things that you should really listen to and think about, that affect your life, that need to be highlighted. And I've just taken them out and highlighted them. You know what I mean? And I'm just peppering the social media networks with it. And so out of an hour-long piece, I've got 40 or 50 pieces of content on each platform, as well as that full hour. You know what I mean? Right. Both audio and video. So now out of an hour piece, you got all of this content that you can use, and that's a way to grow your audience and to get things moving is take those different pieces out. Like, anyway, that's just a strategy that I use.
Well, no, that's an excellent point, because see, what that shows, what it conveys is that your overall knowledge of how to utilize those marketing tools on different platforms, plus that's another service to add. Because in order for you to get that 40 pieces of content for an hour, that means you had to watch it over and over again. That's like editing. So
that's
I gotta watch it over and over again. What you say right there? Let me stop that. Oh, okay. Let me say this to the side. That's a separate MP3 file I'm gonna save here. And so that's work. I mean, so the that, to come up with 5 little sound bites from her, and you may only listen to 30 minutes of content for those 5 sound bites, but that may take you 4 hours just to get that, say those MP3 files and get them sent somewhere else.
Very true.
You see what I'm saying? So that process is what people need to understand as well. So let me show you something real quick. I want to show you some things on my website to give you a better understanding of kind of what I'm doing and what I got going on here.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot on my screen. Don't judge me on all my windows I got open.
That's all good.
All right, so this is basically what I'm launching right now. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
All right, so what I'll come up with, and because I'm a connector at the end of the day, I'm a person that can build business relationships and connections, and then I can help think people through strategic thinking as a partner, how to best leverage those relationships to get to certain goals people have. And so to prove, and I come up with a process and a system that I call to make that happen, a formula, for lack of a better word, that I come up with what I call strategy plus connections plus systems plus value equals capital, right? And that's how you go about raising capital. So I'm putting myself on a next, starting in January, a 12-month process to raise $1 million and to build $1 million network in this process, utilizing my systems and my strategies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I'm gonna get folks to joining me in this endeavor. Then to do that, creating podcasts, video content is gonna be a key part of what I'm doing, because I want to position myself as a subject matter expert when it comes to actually building relationships and understanding how relationships is what helps your business grow exponentially. So this is basically how I'm outlining here. First step, the connection you with yourself. Then I'm laying what you're going to get each quarter. Second step is connecting with action. Third step is connecting with intent. Then the fourth step is connecting with frequency, right? So then basically this is the format I was outlining here. And so this is basically what I'm telling folks here.
Oh, that's great. What's your website, Chris?
This is King Connections, is my website.
KingConnection.com?
.org.
.org, okay. That looks really good.
But what I'm showing you here is my landing page. That's one of my landing pages for that. So basically, my whole goal is this. I got two type of clients I'm looking for. So basically, here's what I'm offering my clients. I'm saying that if you're looking to raise $250,000, you have to have at least 10% of that in order to generate that for my systems, or it's not going to work, right? Because my goal is to raise, and this is a whole nother conversation, but I'm just giving you an idea. My inevitable goal is to create a fund to fund real estate development in 5 major cities. And I want to create a fund for $1.5 billion over the next 30 months. That's what I'm really working towards.
Okay.
Now, for me to raise $1.5 billion, I got to have at least $150 million to invest in that model. You following what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then the $150 million, I got to have at least 15 million, cash to invest. To get to 15 million, I got to have 1.5 million. So everything continues to go because you got to invest in media, in people, hiring folks. So I'm telling people there's a capital investment that has to be made in order to create capital. Right. You can't just go from zero and say, I got no money, but lots of equity. If I want to generate 1.5 billion, it ain't gonna happen.
No, it's not.
Or it definitely ain't gonna happen in the time frame you hope it is, right? So anyway, I'm sure folks I can prove this works by taking $150,000 investment I'm gonna make over the next 12 months, generate 1.5 million in 12 months. And I'm gonna show folks I got a proven real-time system for doing this. And they're gonna join me in this endeavor. And when I'm charging them for that is either $5,000 or $25,000 to be a part of it. But anyway, what I'm offering is that every 30 days, which makes me different, is that we got key deliverables that's going to happen every 30 days. And I'm offering a full 30-day money-back guarantee. So the first 30 days, I'm vetting you, you vet me. If I don't find that you're not a person that can actually produce content, you don't have a business, you don't have a story, but you got 25 grand, I can't help you, right? You got to at least bring something tangible to the table outside just money. So you got 30-day money back guarantee with that. So second phase, we go through that first 30 days, then I'm saying within 90 days, or phase 2, 90 days, that my goal is if you invest 25 grand, I'm going to help you generate $25,000 back to you, your original investment. So in 90 days, you're flush. Right. That's what my systems would do for you. Then third phase is 180 days. My systems, if you're still in the program, you're going to generate at least $75,000 in gross profits utilizing my systems. And then the fourth phase, then you're going to generate $250,000 in 12 months of a $25,000 investment, right? Then that's where you can get that 250 and invest in, in real estate and things of that nature. So these are some of the clients I'm currently working with. And then this is what my program prices are. So I say I got the client do it together. So that's a person who will pay $5 grand to be a part of the network, but I'm teaching them and coaching them, but they got to do everything themselves. Create their own YouTube channels, create their own Facebook channels, all those things like that.
Right.
Then I got the partnership full service. Those are the people who are paying me. And those are the folks who I'm going to, do the podcast for them. All you got to do is show up. We do the podcast. We distribute your podcast. We do those things for you. And all you doing is just showing up being a talent. So obviously the person can pay 25 grand is going to be much more senior in business and much more established. And that's also why that's established that way. So that's basically giving you a quick overview of what I'm building. And so I'm going to be doing this myself. Because see, what I'm saying at the end of the day, I'm saying now is the time, if we really want to be, as Gandhi says, the change that we seek, then we need to be that people. We need to go ahead and create these systems ourselves by putting this into action. And as we put these plans into action, we show it real time through podcasts and through videos. At the end of the day, for example, one of the things I've learned, let me show you this again real quick here.
Okay.
Let me show you this. Okay, here it is. All right, so this is my tool I'm using, the brain.
What is this, Chris?
So, this is a tool I use called the brain. One of my tools that I use, like a mind mapping tool, kind of file management tool, helps me jump around quickly. But what I'm showing folks is that what I want to show you, the access to how you raise 1.5 million, right? Billion, I'm sorry. So showing people the idea what kind of capital is out there. So right here, I'm showing you an article right here. American companies pledge $50 billion to Black communities. That really, they pledged that, but it never really got implemented because there was nobody to really enforce that. But they use it for headlines. What I'm saying is capital is out there. Now, Jay-Z and Will Smith, they put $165 million of their own capital to back a rent-to-own program in Ohio, similar to what I was doing here in Baltimore. The Joe Biden commit $640 billion for housing. Everything I'm talking about goes back to real estate, right? So that's $640 billion. So I'm just really setting the case that money is out there. Billions and billions of dollars have been allocated toward housing and toward business development if you're in the minority community. So JP Morgan commits $30 billion to fight the racial wealth gap, along with 20 other companies that have committed to make these pledges as well. All this was happening as a result of Black Lives Matter in 2020. And again, nobody really held these companies' feet to the fire by saying, I got a business, I got a plan, here's the way I get implemented, give me that capital, right? They make these payments, but nobody holds them accountable. I want to start holding these folks accountable for that. And then look at M&T. M&T commits $43 billion to community-based investments. So my point is corporations and the government is putting out billions and billions of dollars of capital out there. But if we don't position ourselves with a correct business plan, the strategies, and coming together, we'll never get a chance to get access to that capital. So I'm building network in the community and the training to make that happen. If that makes sense to you.
Oh yeah, that's needed. Absolutely needed.
And so I'm sure that, go ahead.
I say, yeah, because you do need some type of platform or funding mechanism to add meat to the bones of all those pledges, you know?
Absolutely. So imagine if it's 300 connected business individuals that are worth at least $250,000 each that are now not using the press, but using their own social media sites and making their videos viral through podcasts, videos that are holding these corporations accountable that way. That's going to generate media attention to cover those stories, as opposed to trying to get them to cover it first, right?
Right.
That's create our own energy around what we're doing and draw that attention is where I'm getting at.
That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
So that's basically what my plan is, to generate 1.5 billion. So basically what I want to do is enroll starting in January. It's going to take me 9 days to really get this ramped up. So I would say by March, I'm going to be enrolling 30 people every single month into my network, what I call the Conscious Business Network, and 20 people paying the $5,000 fee and 10 people paying the $25,000 fee. That's basically $350,000 per month that I'll be bringing in revenue wise. And so for me right now, what I'm doing is identifying the partners, because I can't do all that work myself, is where I'm getting it.
Right. Right.
It's possible for me to do that. So I got to find strategic partners to partner with that can help supplement the work that these folks are going to need. And that's what this conversation I have. So in addition to you working with those clients and giving me the pricing that you want to charge, I also need my podcast produced, because I want to be the example. You know, for me to sell it, people got to see me doing
it. Right.
You know what I'm saying? They got to be able to see, well, damn, your podcast is everywhere. Your videos are consistent. You know, how are you doing that? You know, I want a piece of that. So then I can invite them on my podcast and have them watch that as I begin to really build that up and really grow that.
Yeah, and the good part is, Chris, you're headlong into the production part. So if you produce the podcast and just sent me the raw clip, I could add the graphics and all the pimp sauce to it, you know, and really spice it up a little bit, and you know what I mean, just add the little extra, because you already are doing the podcast part, you know, and you might just need a little graphic package, you know, create some teasers and just a couple things like that to, you know, help market and promote it a little bit. And because you're already off to the races. So it looks like you've been doing it. How long has your podcast been going?
I've been doing podcasts for about, well, I've done different types, you know, so I've been into, let me say it this way, I've been into podcasting the last 6 years, but a podcast on this particular topic, I'm just launching. I've had one that was dedicated to real estate. I've had one dedicated strictly to business, but I never really dedicated one to the art and the science of building relationships. And that's when I realized that's where my sweet spot and my niche and my nuance is.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, man. And you're right to say, Chris, that you know, podcasting is really interesting because there are a couple different ways that you can approach it. Like I have a way that I podcast sometimes. It's not necessarily, it's live streaming is what I do sometimes. Like I'll go out and like there was a shooting in Ferguson last night that I thought was of interest, because the Ferguson Police Department is still under consent decree with the Justice Department. And so anytime there's a police involved shooting in Ferguson, particular procedures have to be followed. And, you know, they are, you know, they're bound to this consent decree. So when we went out to the crime scene last night, a city council person was there and several other city officials who are a part of the consent decree committee, and they know what, you know, is supposed to happen on these scenes. So when we went out last night, I was live streaming with my phone. And those live streams that I do with my phone are different than the live streams that I do on my podcast, but it's reaching kind of the same audience, you know, who's interested in those topics, but it's just a different approach, you know, to the podcast. Now we may come back to the Flossy podcast, you know, and recap what happened last night, but we do the down and dirty live streaming with the phone, like right in the heat of the battle, right on the, you know, right in the middle of everything transpiring live. And people love watching that because they want to have a firsthand account of what's happening, you know, and so that's a different tool set that I use, and I've gotten hundreds of thousands of views, millions of views, I would say, over the past 5 years, just using that method, you know, and so, you know, it's more than one way to skin a cat, that's for sure.
Absolutely, brother, absolutely. And see, that's why I want to connect with you, man, because I know you out there doing the work and you're passionate with this, because see, I'm gonna need someone that I can refer folks to do podcast productions for.
Yeah.
And like I said, because that's going to be a huge part of my clients, especially the ones that pay 25 grand. That's why I wanted to talk with you about, getting pricing so that I can do my budgeting to see how much, how we structure that. You know what I'm saying?
That sounds good, man. Yeah, we'll dig deeper into the fine details, Chris, because there's a couple things that we need to talk about in terms of their distribution platform that they choose for the podcast, and what how much podcasting that they'll be doing, and that'll determine what they have to pay in terms of a distribution platform on the audio side and video side, and whether they need to build websites and that kind of thing, whether they need logos or each case is different, but it's all the same playground.
Now my question is for you: do you want to do all that graphic work? Do you want to do that, or that's something that because again, I want to look at from kind of your current workload level, and then what I can bring you. You can kind of guide me as far as how much business do you really want. So I'm telling you, I can give you a lot of business, or you can tell me I only want 5 clients per month, or I can handle as many as you can send me.
Gotcha.
Give me understanding where
give you an understanding of the time that it takes. Okay. Yeah, I can fill you in on that, because my workload changes from month to month depending on what I'm doing. It's like I taught a class at Webster University for the past 3 months. It was called the Digital Storytellers Workshop, and Webster University had introduced a new platform for the students. It was called the Maker Series. So they would come into this class and everything was hands-on. So we did a video production workshop. We did a photo workshop, and we flew drones for one workshop. And they actually got to be hands-on with all of it. So when we did the photos, we brought our cameras in and took photos, and then we did the instant prints on the spot, and that was super cool. We set up our, great big lights and all of that. And they got a sense of because Webster University wanted to use this to enhance the education that they're offering to teachers, to give them more tools to teach with. And so my class was all about talking about how to use these digital storytelling tools to engage students. And it's interesting too, because one teacher who taught autistic kids was watching the presentation on video production. She said, man, this is perfect for us. And we were like, okay, why? She said, because when the kids come in, some of the kids, well, all of the kids, we like to give them positive reinforcement and show them the positive things that they've done before the class starts. And so when the class starts, they're off to a positive start. We show them on video the positive things that they're doing. We don't show them the bad things or the negative things. And she said, we notice when we've done that they have a much better attitude. And she said, what's cool is that I can take this phone and record our interactions with them, edit them in Adobe Rush, and play it back for the kids before the class starts. And we're off to the races, you know what I mean, to helping these kids get better. And so she made an application just based on what she was seeing. She tailored the application to her own need.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And that's really powerful, and I love it when that happens, because, as human beings, we don't know everything. I might know a lot about filmmaking. I may know a lot about, video production, but I don't know a lot about tailoring those things necessarily to the people who come. I don't know necessarily how to tailor it to their need, but the good part is they help you figure that out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They understand the uniqueness of their audience and of their client. and they help you figure that out. I remember my brother, before my brother passed away, he had a tow service, and during the Cash for Clunkers with Obama, my brother was towing these junk cars, and he called me up. He would always call me up and tell me what his business strategies were and what his plans were. He called me up and he said, man, he said, I noticed the market for steel has really gone through the roof ever since these Cash for Clunkers things started. He said, I wish there was a way. He said, every time I get a car, I can sell it for like $400 a car. And he said, I really wish there was a way that I could get cars all day long. And so I suggested, well, let's try putting an ad on Craigslist. And he said, oh, that's a good idea. Let's try one. So we started out, Chris, with a black and white text ad. And I would basically put them on there every day. And I noticed that the ads started getting bumped off. And I was like, man, I got to take care of that problem. So I had to figure out how to keep the ads on there. And then we noticed that there were other people who had already been doing that. So they'd always be at the top of the list, and they were basically getting all the cars. And so I created a color ad, that you could post into Craigslist. First I just posted a color picture, and I said, oh, the color picture's working good. He called me and said, hey man, I'm getting more calls. What you doing? And I told him what I was doing. He said, all right, well, if the picture's working, he said, add my phone number and add, that we'll come get them for free. And so we created this ad, Chris, and marketed it through through Craigslist. And we were learning as we were going. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have it perfect to begin with, and we learned as we went along. But by the time we finished perfecting that ad, man, that dude, he made so much money off of those junk cars. He would be busy all day long. He would call me every morning. Hey, Kobe. He called me Kobe because he told me I looked like Kobe Bryant. He'd be like, hey, Kobe, you got me up? He called me early in the morning, Chris.
That's so crazy. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I got a Kobe Bryant's book, and I on my desk downstairs right before I called you. I looked at the book. I said, Darnell always looked like Kobe Bryant to me. So it's funny that you say that. So I just had to throw that in there right now because I just had that thought nearly an hour ago. But go ahead.
Yeah. So that's what my brother would call me, Kobe. He called me, hey, Kobe, you got me up every morning. You got me up. I was like, no, I ain't woke up. But I'll get you up by 7, But he'd be up every morning at 5 o'clock. Hey, Kobe, you got me up? Come on, man, let's go. We getting it, And so I said that to say, Chris, that sometimes you have to find the market, and finding the market means you just actively engage in. I mean, you really have to be, intensive and intentional about what you're doing, and you can find it, and I kind of think this podcast thing is the same way, that we're going to have to figure out how to help people find the market. And, that's a pretty exciting thing, because it means that you don't know everything, which I love to be in that space where I don't know everything, because it keeps me hungry. It helps me grow and keeps me learning, and it keeps you humble. It's like, okay. So I don't come to people and tell them that I know everything. I can help you do certain things, but my real superpower is I can help you figure out, how to get to where you're going, just through our curiosity and our learning together.
Absolutely. And see, to your point, that's what I'm going through. So my point I'm getting to people is this: if you want things in your life, how you invest your time is critical to you getting those things, right? So I don't know if you ever heard of Jim Rohn, but he talked about, you work your 9-to-5 job for your survival, and then your 5 to 9 job should be for your business, right? That's how you should look at it. And if you at home between the hours of 5 and 9, if you're watching TV and you're, reading books for entertainment, then that's not a judgment, but don't sit here and say you hope things change, but that's how you spend your 5 to 9 time. Or you spend your 5 to 9 time like me, dude, I devour nothing but, like, I pay for YouTube. That's how much I'm on YouTube. I don't watch YouTube for videos, right? I watch YouTube for content.
Right.
YouTube is an educational platform for me on any topic I want. Like literally, if I want to learn more about social impact investing, I type that in YouTube. I see all the people talking about it. Then I begin to categorize who I watch. Then I begin to see who the subject matter experts are and say, okay, this person I've seen on 6 videos. I like what this person's saying. Do they have a podcast? Oh, damn, they got a podcast. So then I listen to their podcast, right? So it takes me down, your point, it takes me down that rabbit hole. So next thing I know, I find this person on LinkedIn. And then I reach out to this person on LinkedIn. I got everybody's favorite radio station is WIIFM. You know, what's in it for me? So you begin a conversation with somebody on LinkedIn and you say, listen, I've been watching your podcast or I've read your books and this is what I learned from it. And you cite specific sources. I found you definitely get replies back from people. That's a stronger way of making a connection to LinkedIn than simply using LinkedIn as default. I want to connect with you, right? I ignore 90% of those, right? If I think it's too lazy, if I don't know you from scratch, and that's all you did was send me, I want to connect on LinkedIn, I ain't got time for that, right? Yeah. To me, if you really want to connect with me, you need to read my bio, go do some research on me, and then say that in a specific subject line why you want to connect with me. Hey, King, I see that you're a part of this conscious capitalism movement. I am as well. How about we connect on that level? That's going to get a response.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So my point I'm getting is, in today's world with so much information out there, between podcasts, between YouTube videos, then you got all these streaming sites and streaming services. If you don't have a plan for how you navigate that, then you're literally working on somebody else's plan. And somebody else's plan is telling you to put your money in their pocket. It's telling you what to buy, when to buy, how much to buy, how often to buy, you know, and where to buy. And you don't even realize why you're doing it. Like you be sitting here like we saying right now, we were like, you know, yeah, this is a great conversation, Don. I tell you what, man, I'm hungry right now. I'm gonna go get me a Big Mac. And this out of the blue, the Big Mac just came to my mind. Not that I've been craving it, but because I've seen these damn McDonald's commercials so much from watching damn NBA games.
That's
so now Big Mac is relevant in my mind right now.
Right.
So I'm saying all that to say, that's what I'm building a network to say, that I want people intentionally choosing which content to watch, choosing which content to create, and then choosing which content to share. And then we begin to dialogue about that among the business members of my organization. So awesome. I just wanted to share. Awesome. That's kind of what I'm working on and what I'm creating. Last thing I want to ask you before we depart, man, is, and you said this, so this idea popped in my mind. Are you open to do classes as well?
Am I open to teach classes or be a part of learning?
Well, teach.
Well, maybe I said that wrong, because when I teach classes, I learn too. That's the crazy part of. I'd be open to teaching classes. Sure.
Because if you want to teach classes on podcasting, then you know we can work out what your fee is, and I can make that again. I can sell those classes for you as well. And as you know, once you record them once, it's there. So you record a class, it's online. So it'd be like, you know, your class is for podcasts, and you may have a 6-week class, which is basically 1 hour sessions, and you're doing one session a week, 6 hours of content. That you might be, we can sell that for what, $1,500. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And my point is, so that's what I'm getting at, is I can help you generate cash flow. If you can help me create and produce my podcast, I'll help you create and generate cash flow for your business and refer your business. And we can eat that way too.
Oh, that's great, Chris. That's great. You know, I'm willing to help, man. I'm willing to do whatever you need in terms of helping, you know, produce your podcast. That's great. I think that'll be helpful, because last time me and you hooked up, we did something really cool.
Right. And see, I was just learning at that point. I knew I had the interest in see, I was telling people back then, I don't know if you remember, but I was telling folks a foreclosure tsunami was coming. And everybody kept
and you were dead right.
That's why I brought the economists. I was bringing everybody to back me up with data and say, listen,
man,
we about to go through some hell when it comes to housing.
Hey, you had Dr. Scare the hell out of him in the room, boy. By the time he left, I was nervous as a leaf on a tree, and I ain't even live in Baltimore. I said, man, that guy was one of the dopest speakers ever, man. He was awesome. And so was the accountant that you brought. Really, everybody you had there was great. They were all fantastic. You could tell they were seasoned experts, and they were having the right conversation about the right topics in the right context, and just the way you put that whole event together, man, was masterful. It really was. It was, I just was like, wow, and most people don't know the commitment that it took, for you to pull that off. But, I know the behind the scenes, and I know the sacrifices that you made to even make that day happen.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I don't know very many people that are willing to put themselves out there like you did, so that people could experience that. Like I said, I know behind the scenes, and I know you really, really sacrificed for that knowledge and for that information that your audience received. And the speakers were stellar, man. They were just, wow. I mean, that was worth paying $600 or $700 for just to come to that event.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And see, I'm in that same space where I intend to continue making that kind of content, but now instead of having it in one event, now it's going to be, on the internet, to be streamed, to be in podcasts, to be in video clips, and getting it to share. And my final point is, man, I'm teaching people this. It's like, it's not about the number of people you connect to, it's the quality of the people you connect to.
That's right.
So if you got 1,000 people who are Facebook friends, and you put an event out there and you ask people to share, and only 20 people share your event out of 1,000, to me, those are your true friends there.
That's right.
So my goal is focus on the quality of that. So build you a network of 30 people who will all support and advocate for your business. That's what I teach people. Don't worry about trying to get 5,000 people or 20,000 people, and then still only have 30 people that's going to really ride or die with you. Focus on supporting those ride or die folks. And if everybody did that, just imagine this, man. If you had 30 people and all 30 people said, we're going to invite 10 people and make sure they're a part of this webinar.
Right.
Right there, you got organic growing of 300 people.
That's right. And hopefully you're providing value along the way, because, people, we have to provide value, like ever since the Mike Brown situation happened, I've been live streaming and online, just giving content away for free. And so when it comes time for me to produce or when it comes time for me to distribute my movie, since I've been giving all of this free content, hopefully people will look and go, oh yeah, I can buy that, whatever it is that I'm selling in terms of the movie. I can go to Netflix or YouTube and support it or whatnot, because, for 4 or 5 years, I just gave value away, and didn't charge a penny, just because, I think that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to add value, and so when we do have an ask, people understand that there's going to be even value when they give associated with the ask. And I just love, Chris, your platform that you're setting up to tap into these resources that that we need to have in order to grow our businesses and thrive, because it's needed. We need to have wealth and businesses and skills, and have our own way of tapping, into those things. So you're doing great work, brother.
Well, brother, I appreciate that, man. I look forward to, you and I doing some great building together. My last question I want to leave you with, brother, is this: so what are your goals, man? If you had everything that you wanted to do, how would you spend your time? In the perfect world right now.
Man, my goal when I was a building inspector, I worked as a building inspector for about a decade. And my goal was to become a full-time filmmaker and producer. So, as you can see, I reached that goal, and that's what I spend my time doing all day, every day, is producing content. But my real goal, man, is part of the reason I didn't move to Hollywood when I had an opportunity is that I love my kids and I love my family, and I wanted to make sure that my most important job, which was being a dad, I was handling correctly. And knowing me, I couldn't afford to go out to Hollywood and lose my mind.
Right.
And so I stayed real close to my kids, and took care of my boys, because I know the most important thing that I could really do with my time was to be a great dad, and all the other things would fall in place if I did that well. So really, Chris, I've spent most of my time just doing that, and and taking care of them, and taking care of my wife. And now that my boys are grown and gone, I've reached another phase in my life where I got my little grandsons and a little granddaughter who, if you ask me what the ideal is, it's just to have the freedom, man, to have an impact in their lives, and whatever I choose to do, which you obviously know, I love media production and filmmaking, and making the community in which I live a better place. And I live in a Black community. And so my goal is to help the Black people in my community and in the world around me have a more fair shake. After the death of Mike Brown, that really crystallized as to why my wife and I bought a house a half a mile away from where that boy was killed. I mean, we moved right in the heart of that neighborhood. We could see the police cars going up and down the street from my office window in my house. Wow. I was right in the center of it, man. And I was fortunate enough to be curious and to take my camera along for the journey, to document the whole process. So that's going to be an interesting film when I'm able to finally cobble it together. But that's been a huge preoccupation in my time, because it, no matter what I do, it always seems to come back to wanting to have a more just and fair world for people who live, especially Black people who live in these communities, because we've often been the target, of racial abuse and, financial economic exclusion, where banks have, ruled us out of certain neighborhoods and not, giving us a chance to have loans and to grow businesses and, do a lot of the things that the American ideal is all about. So,
right.
So part of what my wife and I did in the wake of the Mike Brown situation is I started my media production company, and she started a healthcare company, because, we felt that one of the best ways that we could improve things was to start with our own family, and start with our own employees. And so we started with our businesses, and just went to work, man, and became entrepreneurs. So,
y'all both got your own business then, huh?
Yeah. So, you know, at least for my family, man, we wanted to do something that was hands-on and that was active, you know, that would give us, you know, some resources and give us the freedom to stay involved in the things that we care about, you know. And I'm perfectly positioned to do that in my community, you know, which has become the world. You know what I mean? It started in St. Louis, but I've been to Louisville for the Breonna Taylor protest. I've been to LA, down on Skid Row. When I go to LA, I work with LA Can, a group that works with the homeless down there on Skid Row. 70% of the people on Skid Row are Black, by the way. And, you know, man, it would just blow your mind what's going on in LA. And it seems like same thing in Louisville. You know, no matter where we go to these different protests, is all seems to be like the same story that we're facing, is that, you know, poor Blacks are being marginalized and racially abused. And most of the time it's done in secret, you know, so nobody really understands the extent of what's happening, you know. And so part of what I do is to uncover that secrecy and bring it out in the open so people can see it and handle it and touch it and understand what it is, you know, that we're dealing with. And that tends to add a level of awareness and consciousness to the community, and gives us an ability to at least identify what's happening, you know. And maybe later on, you know, we can put some numbers on it and add some accountability to it, you know. So so ideally, Chris, that's what I like to do. That's what I've been doing. That's what I really enjoy. You know, I love seeing justice. I love seeing, you know, progress. I love seeing people succeed and be happy. So
what would you say is the best way I can help you, brother?
Give me one of those hats you got on. I like that king hat. I like that hat, Chris.
Oh, well, thanks, brother. Thanks. Just to let you know, man, when we start working together, the business tip, I know it may be a hard transition, but I don't go by Chris. Nobody knows me by Chris. And it's every time you say it, it's like, it almost cringes because I had to correct so many people. So I go by King, right? And I know you've been knowing me since I was 2, you know what I'm saying? But that's all part of, you know, because my goal is that, you know, I used to work for the military. I got used to hearing King. And then it's always so many damn Chris's every time you go somewhere. I got tired of which Chris, the black bald head Chris. Oh, well, nah, it's 3 of them motherfuckers in the room and shit. Which one were you? Well, the darkest one. No, it wasn't the darkest one. So I just go by King. And
hey, I ain't got no problem calling you a king. I think you're a king anyway.
Thank you, brother. Thanks. I think you as well. And it's funny, man.
Who designed your hat?
Well, you know, it's interesting. There's a company called King in London, and they make all these King things. I got a whole wardrobe of King shit. I got King t-shirts, King sweatshirt. Yeah. Perfect. And people be blowing away like, damn, you got your own clothing line? You're like, yeah. But, you know, I pay for that. It's overseas. Nobody knows. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it looks absolutely cool.
Yeah, I got like, and here's the best part about it. They make one and dones. So like this particular hat, they made like a limited number, and once they're sold out, it's gone. And they come out with another style. You know what I'm saying? But
man, I like it.
And they in London. So you only can buy it overseas. You know, so you ain't put it in overseas, you can't get it.
Hey man, you remember when I came to DC and those young ladies weren't they from London who was hanging out with us when we were there?
Yeah.
That was.
I tell folks, you know this, man. I said, people, I'm world renowned, internationally known, locally accepted.
Yeah. We had a great time, man. We had a great time, you know, you showing us around the city and everything. You had a great hospitality. That was awesome.
No, brother, I enjoy having you up here, man. And it's been some years since we last collaborated, but you know, the universe and God brings us back together in each other's lives Like I said, this point in our lives, man, we're older, wiser, definitely much more intentional in our actions. And I think we can definitely do some great things together, brother. I got some people I can connect you with in the whole justice space too, man. Like one of the people who is a close colleague of mine now that I met is a woman by the name of Denisha Martin. And she was hired here in Baltimore City as the attorney to implement the consent decree. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And then
that's great.
She goes around and speaks nationwide on the consent decree. You know what I'm saying? So she'd be an excellent person for you to interview with. And she's a real sister too. And a beautiful sister.
Yeah.
She's a beautiful sister, but she's a real sister. And like I said, you know, that's somebody, you know, Baltimore and St. Louis are twin cities when it comes to this whole injustice. You know what I'm saying? Where
absolutely, man.
Got the consent decree order. Both cities had riots. Both cities had, you know, corrupt police forces doing things. You know what I'm saying? This city still has corrupt police force doing things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's some synergy there for sure. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Mosby, boy, she had me on lock on that TV. She was really an inspirational figure in Baltimore.
I got access to her too.
Yeah, it's some great people all over the country, man. Just working to make things better and more fair for everybody. So I really appreciate that, man. I think it's you know, it's time. We don't want our kids living in a racist world, you know, like the one that we had in the 40s and 50s. And you know, we want them to have a better shot, man, and to really experience the fullness of living in a free country. You know, it's just time. It's just time. You know what I mean? We're not going back to being, you know, bitten by dogs and sprayed with water hoses. That's got to end. We want a couple Benzes and Beamers and Bentleys. Right. You can't take it with you, Chris. If that's what you like, I always say, man, hopefully we'll be able to provide a living for kids, you know, to keep them from killing one another. Why can't he have a Mercedes if he wants a Mercedes? Right. That's better than having a casket.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? A Mercedes is better than a casket, you know, and if it motivates him and gets his attention and, you know, grabs his consciousness, man, you can work with somebody that's living. You can't do nothing for nobody's dead.
Absolutely.
You know, so we want to keep our kids motivated and inspired and looking up, and not that we want to make them materialistic, but we want them to have something. You know, absolutely. We don't want to be poor and broke and destitute and desperate and, you know, getting chased down by the police all the time. It's way more great places in the world to see, and so many great things to do, and different food to eat and culture everywhere. Man, this world is a beautiful place, you know, and having an opportunity to experience it in all of its variety and splendor is what it's all about.
Absolutely. You know, and, you know, to your point, man, real quick, to show how bad things have gotten here in Baltimore City, I know teachers who I know personally, they told me that kids in class, I'm talking about like middle schoolers, be bragging about, and their plans are how good a cast is gonna look.
Wow.
So that just shows you they literally thinking about death because it's such a common place in their environment, and they, you know, family going to so many funerals that having the best looking casket and the best looking funeral now is a goal. You know what I'm saying? That becomes a goal. You know what I'm saying? So
that's so heartbreaking.
Right, that's what their heads are. That's what their minds are. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, brother, we gonna do our part, man. Do some great things. I wanted to, I wanted to say this, that as a follow up, what I want to do is send you an email of, you know, the different packages I have in mind, and you can let me know what your price points are on those, so I can begin to start putting down my numbers together. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I'll get that to you by tomorrow. And you can let me know about it this week. And like I said, also the class, you know, I'll send you an outline of a class, and you let me know if you can do that class, when. Because like I said, I got the platform where if you do the videos, you record the video. I got the online platform. We can upload the video and folks can go there and just pay and you eat like that as well.
Cool.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, my brother.
All right, brother. I enjoyed this, man. Like I said, man, it's been great dealing with you. I'm glad to see you healthy and everything. And
thank you, brother.
Got good spirits and you're still building on your things. And, you know, and hopefully I'll get down to St. Louis sometime before February. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Oh yeah, I take you out for a crispy snoot as a potato salad.
Okay.
You didn't sound too proud. Hey, Chris, I'm gonna take you over to the Red Door in East St. Louis.
Hey, I still got a damn gift certificate from over there, man.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But I do remember that, Joe, back in the day.
Yeah, man. That'll work. All right, my brother. So good to talk to you, man.
Same to you, brother. Be safe, man. I appreciate it. Look out for my emails. Look, man, like I said, I look forward to continue to build with you.
Okay, we'll do, my brother.
All right, brother.
Over and out, King.
All right, brother. Peace.
Peace.